we'll work on the first thought first, which is academics. So here's what I want you to know about academics. There are 8 semesters until graduation. To your first year, to your second, to your third, and to your fourth, right? So there are 8. But there are 6 semesters until application, which is why it's really important to start strong and to either, maintain your grades or improve your grades. And so when you submit your college application, the schools are only going to have 6 semesters or your first 3 years of data where they're going to make a decision. That's why it's really important, again, to start strong and to really keep your grades up. Sometimes students will say, oh, well, I've got my last year or the beginning of my senior year to really turn it around. Well, if you're applying in the fall or very early winter, you may not have your first semester grades. So it's really important that you take your grades seriously. So, so that your academics are strong. Now, when we talk about academics, we're looking at a couple things. Number one, it's the grades that you've earned. It's the courses that you've taken. So there are regular classes, and then there are honors classes, there are advanced classes. And in the advanced classes category, that would be your AP classes and IB. So IB are not necessarily classes, it's more of a program. Some schools have the IB program and students are participate in the IB program. It's very similar to AP with the, where you have like the courses and then you sit for the exam in the spring. So it has some of that same similarity. And then depending upon how you score in the school, they may accept it for college credit. Okay. So taking a look and making sure you're taking courses that are rigorous, that you're challenging yourself, that you are, if you're making all A's in a regular course or an honors course and your school offers AP classes, then challenge yourself that next year and, enroll in the AP course. Don't be afraid to stretch yourself, as you know yourself and you know what you can handle, and try to take a course that's a little bit more rigorous, okay? So that academic planning is like the big part of this entire process, because schools want to make sure that you survive and thrive in school and in college. And one of the biggest ways they assess that is with your academics. If you can do well with your college level coursework, then they're pretty comfortable that you can do well in college with their coursework. So that's really what they're looking for. They want reasons to accept you. They're looking for evidence to show, oh yeah, this student can really handle this work. And so, you need to give them that evidence by saying, yeah, I can handle it. I've taken these courses and I've challenged myself and I've taken the AP exam and I scored a 5. That's why you guys are all in here, right? To get those Fiveables. All right. And then the next part of academics is rank. Now, not every school ranks their student body. Some do, but if your school does rank, sometimes students don't know what their class rank is. So number one, I'm going to challenge you to find out, number one, does your school track rank? And if so, where do you rank? Out of X number of seniors or juniors or freshmen, your number what? Are you 12 out of 52? Are you 12 out of 352? Are you 12 out of 1,098? Whatever. So if your school does rank, and your guidance counselor would know this, it's important to find out now what your class rank is, monitor that, and make a goal to improve. The way you can improve would be with taking more rigorous courses, and of course doing well in those courses to improve your rank, okay? Depending upon the school, and sometimes scholarships for schools, and it depends on where you live and, again, different programs, but they will look at students in the top 10% or the, top 10% of their class more favorably than the remaining 90%. So that's why knowing where you rank in terms of your class is really important. Again, because they're comparing you with your peers in your area, in your school, okay? Because you all have access to the same courses, access to the same teachers, the same opportunities, experiences. So they're saying, okay, this student took advantage of this. Why did you not take advantage of this? What was going on, or what kept you, or what were you thinking that you thought wouldn't take this particular class, okay? And then test scores that you received. And we're going to talk more about tests next week. I'm just going to, my next slide is give a quick overview, but I'm going to dive deeper into it next week, okay? Overview. There are two main categories of tests. There are college entrance exams. So these are tests that some schools use to help determine whether or not you get in. Of course, right now, many schools are test optional, but we're going to just kind of talk during normal circumstances and not the exception for now. I'll layer some exception in there. But there's the college entrance exam, and then there are tests that are course type tests to assess your skill level and what you know, what you've learned. And that's either for rigor, to kind of show that, you know, you've challenged yourself, or maybe for credit. Like actually all three of those, AP, IB, and the CLEP, the college level exam placement, which is a test, excuse me, that you take in a bunch of subjects, you know, and sometimes in the SAT subject test, that can kind of go either place. Sometimes schools will take that subject test and decide, okay, we're going to place you in this class because you scored this on the test. So, yeah, so those are just your two main types of tests. Now we're going to look at extracurriculars. And when it comes to extracurricular activities, those are the things that you do outside of class that's not necessarily academic in nature. It could be related to an academic interest or an academic pursuit, and I'll give you an example in a moment. But those are things that you choose. It's what's important to you. It's what matters to you, whether you just find it enriching. So maybe you love computer science and you decide, you know what, I'm going to join a STEM club at my school, or the robotics club at my school. Or maybe you love working with kids, and so you say, I'm going to be a math tutor. They're looking for after school math tutors, so I'm going to be a math tutor. Again, these are things that you do to either expand what it is you know, to grow as a person, to maybe to discover an area, an interest. If you're interested in, I don't know, nursing or something, you may, you know, pick up extracurricular, like a medical related extracurricular activity. But again, the key with extracurriculars is it's not just what you do, but it's why does it matter to you? So when you're doing extracurriculars with the timeline, this is what it should look like. And what I mean by what it should look like, when you start. So whether you're starting something in the 9th grade, the 10th grade, typically in the 9th grade, that's a time of discovery and exploration. So you may try a few things because, you know, you're new to high school. You know, maybe they have the swim club and they have the chess league and they have debate, and, you know, you just try like a couple things and see what you like. You're kind of cutting your teeth and getting a feel for what you enjoy. And that's fine. That's just pure discovery. But at some point you want to really hone in on a few things that really matter to you. And so that you can go a little bit deeper, because it's hard to go deep in a lot of things. It's easier to go deeper into maybe civic engagement and getting involved in student council or editorial writing stuff, your school newspaper, being a feature editor, writing on the sports, the editor of your school newspaper or yearbook club, some type of literary pursuits if you want to pursue journalism or English, or you enjoy that. And so it's easier to really dive a little bit deeper and to step into leadership role and leadership responsibilities when you're doing fewer things. You know, you don't want to spread yourself too thin and do well in your academics, you know. So what typically happens and should happen, the higher up you go between, you know, 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th, you find that, you know what, you may drop some things, or you realize, wow, I really enjoyed this. I think I want to do more of that. And it's just really, again, discovering why it's important to you. I feel like I can't stress the why enough, because a lot of times students don't really focus on why it matters to them. You ought to be able to say, and go back, you ought to really be able to say, I'm in this club because of, and you ought to know why you're in it. So I do want to make that real clear. All right. The other thing, which is in line with extracurriculars, very close, is volunteering. I know some schools have requirements for graduation in terms of volunteer hours. So you may have to have 40 hours at a school. I've seen some schools with 100 hours of volunteering, you know, and some schools have no volunteer requirements. And that's fine. And I also look at volunteering like extracurriculars. Again, you don't want to just be involved. It's okay if you start off being involved, but what's the impact? Why are you doing this? Is it just to check off a graduation requirement? Because that will show like, oh yeah, they're just doing it to graduate. Or are you doing this because you really enjoy serving in this area and using your gifts and your abilities for a particular group or a cause, an agency, or, you know, or something that really matters to you. So I want to really emphasize impact over involvement. And again, no matter where you are in the process, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade here, just begin, you know, to think about what is the impact that's being made in by my service. You know, why am I here? You know, what's my reason for my involvement, and how am I really impacting others? Okay. Now, when it comes to connecting, I call this connecting. Sometimes you'll hear like, oh, you know, you should do college visits and maybe go to college fairs, things like that. The goal really should just be connection. And the college fairs, college visits, those are kind of the what you do and the ways you connect. But the key is to begin to connect with schools and build what I call relationships, but some kind of engagement. Maybe that is attending a virtual college fair, or maybe an in-person event if they're having it. There are some schools that are having socially distanced school tours in smaller numbers and things like that. Maybe it is a campus visit. Maybe it's sitting in a virtual information session. Maybe it's going to their website or getting on their mailing list. So there are ways to begin to connect with schools, and those are things that you should be doing at different points on your journey when it comes to planning.